Oh my goodness. YabYum. I mean, okay, so here we go. I'll try to sum this up the best as I can for the few of you who don't know what YabYum is. Mark and Carly run a website, podcast, all kinds of stuff, originally revolving around local music. They were the first people to pick up Phantom Party and kind of take us under their wing and say really nice things about us. And they've always kind of had a heart for us, and we kind of built the friendship with them over time, and they've just grown and grown and grown, and now they're international. They are synonymous with the Phoenix music scene, as well as tons of other music scenes. I guess I wish I could find a better way to say that, but they're like their goals, man. You think about like where do you want to go? Like what you have an idea when you get into the music scene of what else can I do outside of just being in a band. And for me, man, like YabYum's working up that ladder. They're some of the hardest working people that I've ever come across, and some of the sweetest as well. So anyway, we get into it, man. We get into the history of their relationship and how they came to be and how they're fucking killing it. And they're not done, man. They're still just walking up the ladder. They are not at the end of their road, and it's really exciting to see this out. I love these guys. So enjoy YabYum. Welcome back to the show, everybody. With you, as always, Matthew Slusser. With me today, I have the wonderful Carly and Mark of YabYum.
Hey!
Oh, hello! And I'm like legitimately excited to have you guys here. This is very exciting.
We're legitimately excited to be here.
I'm happy.
I would say stoked.
Oh,
oh no!
Get out.
Okay, I'm out of here. Bye.
I have to be so careful now. I feel like it makes me nervous to say that word on the podcast because I don't want to feel like I'm like catchphrasing. You know what I mean? Like oh man, I'm stoked, and people just fucking shoot themselves. Like that's like what I would do in a situation like that. But first things first, Carly. Are you drinking coffee? What's happening with that?
Am I drinking coffee?
Last I heard, there was some dilemma with the coffee.
Yeah, so I go back and forth on the coffee. I switch back to decaf.
Okay, got it.
And it's much like quitting smoking, where I'm really committed, and then suddenly I'm not committed, and
that makes sense.
And then I recommit.
Got it.
So
that's cool.
It's an up and down process.
Yeah, I remember you were very distressed because coffee seemed to play a very big part of your life.
You know, I started drinking coffee at 14, so that is a very long time of drinking coffee every single day. Much longer with it than without it. So, but we're all adaptable. Yeah,
well, I'm glad. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. Also, I have to say, congratulations on your guys' marriage. Which
Thank you.
I definitely have like questions that I'm curious to hear about. Now, you guys got married at Trunk Space, right?
Indeed.
Okay, so just tell me about that. Like, what was that like? Lay it on me.
It was awesome.
It was a lot of fun. We have been together a very long time. We were engaged a long time as well. Mm-hmm. And some family members made it explicit that we were not to elope or get married at a courthouse.
Got it, yeah.
So we decided to give them sort of an event that was representative of us and our lives together. So it was loud. And
things went wrong.
No,
it's fine. It's supposed to.
But we had a lot of fun with it.
That's good.
Had a lot of fun with it.
That's good.
And if anybody's wondering, in October, it is actually too hot in Arizona to set off lanterns. You can't set off paper lanterns because it is too hot outside.
What happens?
They won't rise. They just catch fire.
Damn.
That's sort of a fun poetic, spectacle in of itself.
That sounds kind of fun.
So we put out some fires together to celebrate our union.
That's awesome. Was that like a immediate thing where you guys thought of the Trunk Space just because your involvement in the community or what?
A little bit of that because we had thought about going to the other one and then Kiss met and then the new Trunk Space
we had like I said, it was a long engagement.
Yeah.
So we had originally talked to Steph. We thought we would be getting married at the old trunk space with a few friends.
Got it.
And the venue ended up changing locations, and we decided to go with the new location.
That was a scary few months. Was it a few months?
It was a rough
especially for
summer.
people who
That
didn't
summer.
know. Like I'm not like friends with. Like I respect the shit out of her, but I'm not friends with her. So I had no idea what was happening, and it was. Like I was optimistic, you know. Like Sean Bonnet or Bonnet or however you say his name wrote like that really nice piece about being optimistic about trunk space, and that made me feel better. But so you wanted like the small trunk, the old trunk space is small. You guys just wanted like a few people at your wedding.
Yeah. And then Mark's such a likable guy.
He is a likable guy.
Yeah, I don't have that problem. So he has a large family, and everybody seems to like him in it. So there was a crowd. I'm like that's how my girlfriend Alicia is. She's very much like she just wants a few people. She doesn't want a spectacle. But I like spectacle, and I like a lot of people, and I like hosting and gatherings and things like that. So
Are
I'm
you
like,
in a
no,
band?
It's fucking huge. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. I need constant validation from strangers.
Right, that's the problem with musicians.
Yeah, it is. But it's fine. She knew what she was getting into. So, like, another thing that I always think about with YabYum is you guys get so many submissions.
Oh my god.
How much of what you get just sucks? Like, do you get a lot of stuff where it's just like, this is not good? And obviously don't say names unless they're assholes. In which case, fuck them.
No. We're generally pretty mum about those things.
Yeah.
Truth be told, there are some astonishingly bad tracks that we've heard. I mean, like astonishingly bad, and we've heard things like,
Jon Snow back against the
I was
wall.
not. I thought we weren't going to name names. So we
fine.
did have a really emotionally intense track about Jon Snow. That was a hip hop track.
Okay.
That we have. That's been a lasting joke in our office, and hopefully that young man is not listening right now.
It's
My
fine.
God.
No, it's fine.
But
It's
He
pretty
wrote a song
amazing
about Jon
song.
Snow.
Yeah,
What do you?
it was very
This is what he
emotional
wants.
too. We've had some
know
fun
nothing,
ones,
Jon
but I would say the biggest problem or the biggest reason that people don't end up on our site is because their song sounds too much like what other things we've heard that week.
Got it.
So I'd say,
That's
gosh,
fair.
like 70% of the music we gets turned down for that reason.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Is that you're strong players, you're recording solid, you are not distinctive in any way.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good for you guys for not just filling up the space to keep the week going. I'm sure that makes your job a lot harder.
Yeah, it's just it's
Well, yeah. Since we've gone to national then international submissions too, I mean it's just the whole fold of submissions just becomes more and more. So there's just always such a title of stuff coming in.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. I feel like, and I could be totally wrong here, I've only known about you guys since 2015. Sorry, and I feel like since then you have, it seems for me anyway, have like made a huge spike, like a jump in between 2015 and 2018. I feel like that was a big area of growth.
Definitely.
Definitely. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Because I've seen it, originally I just thought of it as only Phoenix, only like this kind of
It
music.
was only
Yeah.
Phoenix.
Arizona.
We did only Arizona music for a really long time. When we first created YabYum, the idea that I had in mind was to create more connectivity within the Phoenix art scene. Like, I knew there were things happening here. Whoa.
You're fine,
Okay.
sorry.
We knew there were things happening here. I knew things were going on, but I still felt like I had to find them. And this kind of introduced me to new bands. It showed me new places. I've just, found a lot of really good music. So YabYum was sort of a way to introduce that. And then as we went through the years, it seemed like we were doing a lot of encouraging the same bands and not really expanding that connectivity. So we increased to the Southwest. We included the West Coast. And then we started to get a lot of really good feedback from artists saying, I connected with bands in this area because of an article you did where you featured us and a band from Sacramento.
So what year did it officially begin?
2009.
2009. Okay, that's perfect.
June 2009.
Good. I was talking. So last episode that was released was Derek Hackman from the Breaking Pattern, and he, after the podcast, we were talking about the music scene, and he was talking. Maybe it was on the podcast. I don't think it was. He said he got started in like 2008, 2009, and whatever band he was in at that time. He said that back then the scene was completely different and really dead.
Yeah.
Like and then we just kept drinking and talking, and I never got to hear the full story of that. But like, what was it like at that time?
Well, it was really strange. I had just moved back here from San Francisco, so I went from a really thriving, art scene with music every day all over the place to Phoenix, and there was kind of a culture shock of coming home, and I had, when I was younger. And I was covering music in Phoenix as a high school student, as an undergrad. They just had a whole different rock scene. It was all centered around Mill Avenue, and there was a lot of Tempe rock bands. And then you had like West Side heavy, rock, hard rock, and metal. But, so much of it was like Tempe and Mill. And then, it seemed when I got back here that there really wasn't a lot happening. There weren't a lot of venues. There wasn't a lot of local support from the press, because the editor of the New Times didn't have a very strong opinion of local music at that time, the guy who was, in that position at that time.
Got it.
So it just, even if things were happening here, because I know River Jones was running his music label here, and he had quite a number of artists that were working. Courtney Marie Andrews was starting at that time. You Mean Apollo was here from Colorado. There were things happening here.
I think was that Format era, or was that Format before that?
Format was before that.
Before that, okay, got it.
Yeah. So there were all these things happening, but it was very, nobody knew about it. You'd go out on a First Friday, and, that was pretty much it.
A lot of like bar bands, old dudes rocking.
Lots of bar bands.
Yeah. I see that stuff like that's it's so weird because I played in bands when I was in like 2011. And then that stopped, and I did a bunch of other things. Then I came back in 2015, and things were definitely different, but I still felt like there was some kind of connectivity happening in both of those times. And Phoenix is such an alive place for music that it's crazy for me to ever think of a time when it was rough or not super connected. Connected for sure.
Well, you were in a band at that time, Mark. You've been in a band pretty much this whole run. So, I mean, do you feel that the scene's changed a lot? I mean, from that time, like, because were you playing with the Ragged back in like 2009, 2008?
Yes. And yeah, we played a variety of places, but yeah, it was different. I mean, I just think even the internet wasn't the same way as it was now.
Yeah.
And I almost think that like just all sorts of connectivity has only gotten better. And so, yeah, I would imagine that carrying through into the music scene as well. I just think it was harder for bands to know about bands.
Yeah, for sure.
And
it was MySpace, but
yeah,
MySpace wasn't really built for connecting like Facebook is. Like Facebook, you can just find all these bands by location and all this stuff, but MySpace wasn't nearly as connective, I guess, in that way.
Yeah.
From what I remember.
Yeah, from what I remember about that too. I mean, I guess, as it still is, there was all sorts of different niches though, and you almost kind of found your set of bands that you play with.
I guess it was a lot. It did seem more it seems more inclusive now, like that people play with people from different scenes more now.
They do.
I would say a little bit, yes.
A little bit. But we do have to. I've noticed being in a band, you almost have to make the effort for that to happen.
Right,
it's
totally.
so easy to just play. Like our first year and a half, maybe even 2 years, was just indie bands and no indie punk bands. And like there's like we did some folk stuff there for a little while, but that's because we had friends in the folk scene and we played with them. It's so like let's put a bill together of just indie bands, and that really stunted me learning about so many great like hardcore bands or metal bands or Americana bands or folk band, whatever. There's so much there that you kind of have to. Luckily there's guys out there like Brandon Kellum who's like sets up these crazy multi-genre bills and things like that. But it's tough, man. Like, so do you guys cover just all genres, or is there anything that you don't touch a whole lot?
We don't like remixes. We don't do remixes.
Good call. Yeah, no, it's just good. Good. Fuck them.
There's copyright issues there too.
Well, there's also yeah, for sure.
But no, we cover pretty much anything. We like
good.
weird music though, because we're part of Phoenix. Phoenix is a weird music scene, so we like things that sound different, that are unusual, things that mix genres or do something different. So.
Harrison Fjord, Playboy Man Baby. Like there's so many of them.
Right,
like they're like that. They're just like crazy genre mixing stuff. I mean, Run on Sunshine, for God's sake. Like there's just endless amounts of crazy stuff.
Yeah, Phoenix has some weird. There's definitely that that element of the strange. We have related records based right here.
Yeah.
And Gogongo. There's a lot of fun things that happen that
maybe
wouldn't take hold in other areas.
Someone's phone is that?
Oh my God.
Oh, it's cool. So I'm making sure it wasn't my phone. You can grab it if you want to.
It's not.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Mine's plugged in over there.
Oh, yeah. It's hers. But, I mean, you can grab it if you want to. Otherwise, we'll keep going. Totally up to you.
I should have turned it off.
Oh.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know if they can pick it up anyway. So it doesn't matter. I'll make a note to cut that out.
Dope.
It's easy. Yeah, no problem. That's why it's not live. I can do it. So let's see. Did you guys get busy like pretty quickly when you got this whole started and you spread the word out, or did it take a really long time to snowball?
Well, it was weird. So I had always been in print. I started in the 90s when I was like 17, working for like a school paper, and then I started photographing bands, and I tried to get like local zines to publish these pictures of bands I would take, and they wouldn't run it without an article. So I started, I'd always written. So I wrote some articles, and so yeah, I don't know. I had a history of like working in a variety of different publications, but I didn't have a lot of experience with working with a blog. So when I launched YabYum initially, it was like a monthly magazine. And I think the first month we got 10,000 hits.
Damn.
And I was so excited.
That's amazing.
I was like floored that the internet was so pervasive. And it's funny now to look back and be like, oh, it was such a, it's not where we are now. But it was such an exciting start but at that time I had been, I used to cover music here, and then I moved away, and then I came back. So I already had connections here. I already knew people. I already knew artists. And so it was a little easy to get my grounding. So
now the name YabYum, is that something that you came up with, or did you grab onto like a larger thing?
YabYum is, so I studied in college. I ended up with a degree in religion and philosophy. And I had been really keen on the study of American Buddhism, and Jack Kerouac talks about YabYum, but it's a practice in Vajrayana Buddhism.
Okay.
And the term means mother, father, but it's this spontaneous means of enlightenment, usually through sexual initiation. And I thought it was hilarious because Kerouac would use it to get women into bed. And I
knew that there was some connection to Kerouac.
Like if the whole Buddhism doesn't really adhere to, that's not really something that goes along with mainstream Buddhism, but American Buddhism it's sure part of. So I thought it was really funny just because, like music, I thought it was, sort of a reference to getting women into bed. Yeah, no, I like that. That's great. That's great. But like I said, I had just emerged from a master's program in religion and philosophy, and so the sentiment was lingering. Yeah, and it's great. It was a funny sounding word. It definitely sounds good. It makes me think of like when you say it like that. I like names that have sexual innuendos that you don't know until you find out about it. Like the Front Bottoms is one of the best examples of that. Like awesome. Front Bottoms is great. Just vagina, classic, fantastic. There's tons of bands like that where you find out what their name, like Seether, for instance, who I fucking loathe, but for whatever, like their name is again just another euphemism for vagina, or it's another language or something like that. I feel like I should say this is a legitimate religious practice in some places. Yeah. Like it's not. Yeah, no, I get it. I don't mean to be so Western in my approach to this topic. I'm obviously being way more Western than you, so it's totally fine. No, I thought it was pretty funny. The best part about that was I did not realize at the time because, like I said, the internet has changed considerably since we started YabYum. And so we didn't realize it was the name of a brothel in Amsterdam,
Nice.
for example. Or that if you search YabYum, you will uncover an array of images.
Ooh.
But I think now
Google it.
I think now music tops the position.
Good for you.
So we're hopefully.
If
But it was a real shocker to Joel when he was taking pictures for us when we first got off the ground. And he went to Google and see if those pictures came up. And pictures came up, but they were the wrong ones.
That's hilarious. If you go to Urban Dictionary for Phantom Party, it's like something weird, like a bunch of like people meeting in a dark room to have sex, and you don't know who you're having sex with, or something like that. It's some kind of weird Urban Dictionary thing that we found out later on that we were like, that's perfect. I will absolutely allow people to think that that's where we got our name from. I have no problem with that whatsoever. But like, okay, so one of the things that I definitely wanted to talk about was I need to know the story behind the reading room, because as a giant dork, nothing made me happier than seeing that ridiculously huge monolithic just statue to books. I thought it was amazing. What is that? All yours?
Books are my true love. I am only in music as a sideline. I have a rather large library. That is much smaller than it used to be. We had to condense in the moving process.
It happens.
So
cut out all of your doubles.
I know. It's hard. I'm very attached to my books, and I appreciate all my friends who have helped me pack them and move them.
That's nice.
All over the place.
I remember when I was there, I looked through a bunch of stuff. Like I didn't snoop, but my eye definitely was constantly looking around books, and I saw it's legit. Like it's legitimate. Like it's not like it's not like Jodi Picoult and all that shit. It's actually like Henry Miller and Kurt Vonnegut and like all these artists or all these writers who I really really enjoy. Like Kurt Vonnegut's one of my favorite.
Educated.
No, I appreciate that. I loved that. I got really excited. No Sylvia Browne in my line of sight or anything like that.
No. It's funny because there are some odds and ends because I select. The family borrows heavily from my library. My family, my aunt and uncle, my mom, and so there'll be like a stash of like Goodwill books that are like cheap mass market novels that they'll go through and pick out and pull out, and I have to keep them to the side so they don't touch my books. So there's no mixing.
I have that with records. Like I have all my good records that I actually like that I like and that I'm proud of. They're all bagged and they have all their covers and everything, and they're nice. And then I have another box that's just the cardboard, and you've got like a lot of Christmas records, like George Strait's like Christmas Straight to You. Awful fucking the worst puns. Like, oh my good lord. So Mark, I also want to talk to you, my friend, who's also here. Give me a little bit. Like I know precious little about you. Like I know, even though like Carly and I haven't like sat down and shot the shit a lot. Like I know she's on social media all the time and posting stuff. I know her.
See, I'm out there.
I know who she is. She's I
have a presence.
I get it. Yeah, she has a presence. So I just like I want to know some more about you, man. Are you from Arizona? Are you from Phoenix? Like
no, no. I'm from the Bay Area.
God, what a radio voice.
And and I moved to Colorado when I was 12.
Ooh, what part?
Colorado Springs.
Ah, that's very nice.
Yeah.
You played a show in Colorado Springs. It's very cool.
Pretty much grew up in Sunnyvale, moved to Colorado Springs, just idyllic childhood running through the hills.
Hills to John Denver.
Exactly. And then moved here in 2001 for school. I made animated cartoons that were just rip-offs of South Park.
That's fine.
And was able to compile a VHS tape. And
please tell me that exists in your guys' library somewhere.
Oh, God, I hope so.
I think my dad might have it. But, it helped me get a scholarship to go to Al Collins Graphic Design School, quickly renamed Collins College whilst I was attending.
Got it.
Went there and learned, some website development kind of stuff. Honestly, didn't keep up with it enough, so it was great to meet Carly and suddenly have like a something to
And to
Coattails.
have somebody to boss me around day and night and demand images.
That's
Yeah, I wasn't doing anything with it anyway.
yeah. No, that
That's not entirely true because
Okay.
he made a lot of visual art, which is how we ended up coming together to work on YabYum. Was that I had started YabYum and I was in operation, just about 6 months when I met Mark covering his band. And he invited me to go to his house to check out some funk records.
classic. You classy motherfucker. God damn.
So he informed. There were other people there. It wasn't totally.
No, I understand.
It was like you want
That's
to.
the best lead-in I've ever heard.
We have some people over. I have a great collection of 70s funk. Do you want to come over and check out some records?
God
What
damn.
do you mean you've never
Slipping
heard?
out of my seat.
Right. So we went and listened to some Slave, and walking into this house, I call it the House of Lost Boys. It was
Okay, I want to hear this now.
It was
Yeah.
this insane, huge house hidden in the suburbs that was filled with lost young men, and and Mark was kind of leading the charge of this group. Like, everybody's got to pay rent, everybody's got to do dishes, everybody, and he was sort of like the mother hen to this
Got it.
House of Lost Boys. But the entire house was
Like a pig's head on a stick.
the entire house was collaged. Like, every available space was turned into this huge collage. Now, I had to study page design when I studied journalism. And, you know, the way you lay out an image, and you want this to lead in here, and you want this looking this way, and everything like that. It was impeccable.
Really?
It was freakish. I was like, oh my God. Because the whole house looked like a page you wanted designed for the internet. And I was like, you know what? You're a nice guy, but I really need a page designer more than I need a boyfriend. So if you could do design, that's more important to me than dating right now.
Oh my God! Where is this? Where is this place?
Oh, it's gone now.
It's gone?
I took him from the house, and then the house
Yeah.
sort of, the next
Fell
person
in.
to lead in the mother hen role was not quite as astute in his role.
Got it. So the house is just gone.
Yes, we've collected some of the remnants in
Okay.
our place on occasion.
Where
but,
was it? Where did it take place?
It was actually, in Tempe. So
Got it. So when you say like House of Lost Boys, are you living with like 6 other like savages who are just trying to like just breathe cigarettes and do art, or what?
No, it was mostly just people that like to stay in, quite honestly. I mean, everyone worked and
That's
there was some musicians. Quite honestly, there'd be a cycle of people. It was
then the oscillation of the people on the couch, or the one who slept in the landing, or
Oh,
or the
nice.
closet some
Yes,
nights.
there was a
Yeah.
closet.
Yeah, every once in a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like that opening scene in Clerks where he just falls out of the closet. That's what I always think of anytime I think closet sleeping.
Yeah.
But like, so wait, we were talking about reading a second ago, and that just like
Okay.
sparked a memory. I apologize. We'll go back and forth. Which is like, do you get a lot of time to read, even though like you're running all of this stuff?
No, actually, that's the most depressing thing in my life right now. Is that last year? So I was like a freakishly avid reader until last year when we went national, and because of the sudden, drastic change in my workload a year ago, July, or 2 years this coming July, I didn't read until we went on our honeymoon, and
Wow.
and then I read like 3 books while crying, and so we have realized, and this is a very important life lesson for
Yeah.
everybody out there who's on the hustle. We realized we needed to make changes to our life to set stop times and not work every single weekend straight through the weekend, and like set some boundaries for ourselves, because I'm the child of entrepreneurs, and you can miss your whole entire life
Yeah.
while you're waiting for something to break.
Yeah.
So
I think about that a lot. Like, first of all, when I'm not reading, I'll go through a period where I just read constantly, a book every like couple days or whatever, and then I'll just do that all the time. And then I'll have months where I'm not doing that at all, and I always feel mushy. My brain just feels like oatmeal. Like I can't pull up thoughts or frames of references nearly as quickly, or articulate my words as well. But like I don't know. I wish I could do that more. And when you're talking about like being able to keep your work at work, it's something that like me also trying to build as many things as possible. I'm constantly because I'm like that. I know that's my biggest fear is that one day I'm going to finally achieve what I felt like I needed to be happy this entire time. Realize that it's not what made me happy, and then I missed out on all these things in the meantime.
Right.
I completely have the potential to do that, and it's fucking scary. Like, I don't want to be that
And
dad.
so many people do that.
It's like Mrs. Thanksgiving dinner because I'm on my Bluetooth or some shit. Like, you don't want to be that guy, but at the same time, like, there's like it's just this single-minded thing. Like, I need this. I have to do this, otherwise I'm worthless or whatever.
Right, or you just have that one last thing to do before
Yeah,
you stop for the
exactly,
day. Just
yes.
one more thing, and I'm stopping for the day, and then it's
Yes.
like 9:48 at night, and you're tired.
Because
and
that last thing had this and this and that wrong with it, and you had to fix it, and you got an email, and oh shit, this is important too, and
there are too many
Same.
problems. You know, it's just that. Yeah, it's crazy. Especially both of us working in the same
yeah.
arena. You know, too much of it. You get too much crossover.
So has that made your relationship grow stronger, or are you just trying to kill each other all the time? Or there may be a middle ground.
I kind of want to hear his answer before I give my answer. Or do you want me-
It's the newlywed game.
No, it's great. I mean, our whole lives are intertwined in a way. Like,
Oh, that's what I was gonna answer. I was no.
yeah,
Yeah,
where we
we-
just finish each other's sort of everything.
Sandwiches.
We've actually we've found probably a symbiotic way of living that would be gross to other people. We're just very much, you know, we pass things back and forth. If you're talking to me on Facebook, you might actually be talking to Mark. There's so much back and forth with everything, with every aspect of our lives at this point that there's no division.
That's good. That's
And-
so important.
And even if you've been to the radio show,
Yes,
I will
it's
not
fantastic.
remember half of what I'm supposed to say, and Mark has to pick up. And
Yeah.
Vice versa.
You guys know
Yeah.
you guys are a lot of fun. I went and okay, I'm gonna bring this up real quick. So you guys are friends with DJ Hockey Chuck, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hell yeah.
Great. He's a fantastic human being. Did he tell you that we got him in trouble last time? Have you heard that? You haven't heard the
no,
story?
did you get Hockey Chuck in trouble?
Yeah,
Because
we
we'll
did.
fight you in a parking lot.
We didn't mean to. Okay, I'm gonna tell the story then because this relates to you guys. So, Phantom Party went on Rise, and it was his first time ever running the show by himself. What's his name?
Kaja.
Kaja was like sleeping on the couch in the other room or whatever. And that's true.
Kaja getting called out.
Not hyperbolic. That's what was
I know.
happening. And
sounds right.
And so he let Charles or whatever we can call him in charge, and he was definitely
Charles in
Charles in charge, exactly. So he was definitely nervous, you know, and he was great, and he led it great. We had a good time, but Austin, our drummer, started telling he asked a question about like embarrassing things or pranking each other or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Austin goes into the story about how he tricked Josh, the singer of Phantom Party, to drink his piss once. And he didn't say the word piss.
Okay.
We were completely clean in the verbiage. But still, he told a like beat per beat story of like watching the piss like go up the straw when he was drinking it, and like how he like...
Wait,
Okay, hold on. Here's the story. Okay, here's the story. The story is Josh comes into band practice. This is right when I've met Austin twice. This is when we're recording our first EP, and Stellar, and which you guys are so gracious to be like supportive of. So we're about to record drums, and Josh wants something to drink. He's thirsty, and Austin's like, "Oh, hey man, here's a Polar Pop. This is like fresh or whatever from like last night." And he's like, "Okay," so he drinks it. Immediately, it's just like, "What the fuck was that?" Like that, and he gets really nervous and he gets really upset, and Austin starts fucking laughing, and he like basically, long story short, finds out that it's piss, goes in and throws up, which just makes him throw up more because he's just tasting the piss as he's throwing up. And we're telling this story on on the radio, Rise, and fuck, like, he is like laughing really hard, but also like really nervous. And halfway through the show, Kaja comes in, stares at us, stares at him, and then walks away. And then we were laughing so hard, and we were having such a good time. And then that was it, and we never thought anything of it again. And it was a great time. That's on the podcast of that episode. Like, it's all there. Now,
I go back. He invites me to do Rise as Getting Stoked, and I come in and he's like, "Oh wait, last minute change. You're gonna be pre-recorded." And and then I go in. And it turns out
watchdog now, Matt.
it turns out he tells me the story. He's like, I got a little bit of trouble because the last time, and I was like, dude, I'm so sorry, but like you were laughing, like. Oh my god, that's the thing. That's what I was trying to get to is I love your guys' whole thing. Like I love coming on Rise and YabYum and whatever you guys. So do you guys do anything with Rise anymore, or is it just YabYum?
Yeah, Rise is a different show now. So what ended up happening is we did Rise for a couple of years, and then they offered us our own show.
Okay.
And so we were doing the YabYum hour twice a month, and now we're doing it every week.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And what's going on?
Every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday, plug it. Good. When is it?
Every Wednesday, 7 to 8, RadioPhoenix.org.
There you go.
Boom.
So
7 to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
PM. Yeah. So what exactly? How did you guys get hooked up with your new video acoustic thing that's going on? Is that happening still?
Yeah, actually, that was actually a story of really good timing.
A little more kiss, Matt.
Yeah. So we told you before we came in here about the travesty of the reading room was that
Yes.
We had some shady landlords who wouldn't fix our AC. And so we ended up having to move very quickly, very unexpectedly in August to a new location. And we had done the reading room, we've done these videos from our home. And we got a new house, and we're really excited to be there. And it's lovely, but it has hard floors and high ceilings. And it wasn't until Anthony from Lawn Chair came over and was like, man, what are you guys going to do about the reading room? That we both looked around and went, fuck, what are we going to do? We can't record in here. And we had just finished building a podcast space in the old place. So we were doing a new podcast room, but it doesn't really accommodate a band. And it just so happened that week, Jim, who is one of the owners of the Listening Room, reached out to me and said, we have this space in Phoenix, and I would love for you to come down and look at it and check it out. And so I did, and went down there, and we were talking, and he was explaining their setup and what they do there. And I said, funny story, Jim. And it just so happened we went into his green room. And the mandala that we had hanging in the back of our reading room is the mandala that's in their green room. And I was like, well, we're going to be friends now forever. And so we just started talking and decided to work together on this project. And we're really excited to do it.
That's still going along? That's still
yeah, we just actually,
fantastic.
we have your guys' video coming out. Yeah, I know.
I swear to God, I wasn't fishing for that.
Well, you guys are next on our roster,
Okay.
so Mark's finalizing that right now.
Cool.
We release them once a month, and we just recorded our next 3 months.
Cool. So why once a month?
Why once a month? Because
If that's an answerable question. I'm just curious.
we do so much different content on
Yeah, you do.
YabYum. We have so many different things going on that we want the video series to be special.
Yeah.
We really want it to be like this collection of the songs and songwriters that really stand out for us. And doing something like only 12 a year, there's so many artists here.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But just doing only 12 a year, I think, makes it just sort of a
cry.
special.
So sweet. It was so special.
So, it kind of makes it something special that we do.
Got it. So, Mark, I didn't know this, and maybe that makes me a bastard. But tell me about your band history, dude. I didn't know that this was a thing. Are you in a band right now?
He moonlights.
Yeah,
He moonlights.
I will moonlight every once and again on saxophone for
Like Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec, like the. Never mind.
Does he we don't watch TV.
Okay, I
we
know,
run
it's
a
cool.
business, man.
No, okay,
We're
sorry.
business owners.
we watch TV on the internet.
No,
Yeah,
he
okay.
literally he does exactly that. He
Plays
goes
saxophone?
into a separate persona, and he goes up and he makes tons of money playing saxophone at clubs.
Oh my
and,
God,
no
that's
one
hilarious!
In the office knows about it. Yeah,
I didn't make it that far into the show.
yeah.
I swear I saw the first season of
It's
that.
later. It's something later. Duke
Oh,
Silver
okay.
is his name. Yeah.
Awesome. I'll have to look into that. Yeah, I've been playing music for a while, and yeah, I'm I grew up on piano. My mom taught me piano.
Yeah, Mark comes from a musical family.
That's good.
So
That's awesome.
There's
Yeah.
and they're really cool, like rock and roller types too.
Yeah.
I just totally filched the story from you. I mean, like I just stomped right in there and took it away.
No. It's
No,
cool.
please, Mark, continue. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah. So, yeah, played bass and saxophone since I was a teenager, and got into bands. And my uncle is the bassist for the Tubes.
Nice.
And
What an odd band.
and my other uncle plays guitar and bass, and his wife, my aunt, played drums, and they were in a punk band here in the late 70s, early 80s. And so, yeah, by the time I was, in my 20s, I was in bands, and yeah, just sort of played in different things around. Was in and out of the scene, kind of like how you described.
Yeah.
I had a few years there where I wasn't so much into it, but yeah, then really started getting into it again in 2007, and was playing saxophone in a band that time. It seems like I go back and forth between saxophone and bass. And so after that band ended, a couple of the members of that band, I switched to bass, and the bass player in that band went to guitar, and we got our old drummer back who had moved away and then come back. And anyway, so yeah, yeah, but now I'm sort of glad I'm not exactly in a band, because there's just no way with all that we're doing that I could dedicate the necessary time to that. It's hard enough for me to just play like a few shows every once and again.
Yeah.
Not to even be in a regular type of situation.
Well, two things with that. One, your instruments of choice are bass and sax. Once again, like sex machine. Holy shit. It's like, fuck me. Like, all right, so that's pretty awesome. I wish I could play brass. I always wanted to play brass. Specifically, saxophone. Like, I'm pretty good with instruments. I can kind of, like, figure out little things. Like, Alicia plays saxophone, and I can, like, pick it up every once in a while and not squeak on every note. I can kind of mess around a little bit, but, like, it's not nothing I'm committed to. I wish I was.
Yeah.
I was all percussion growing up. I took drum lessons for many years.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm like, I play bass, but the thing is, because I took drum lessons for years and I'm like technically trained on drums and was in percussion in school, I always notice shitty drummers. Like, it's my big thing. Like, it's so hard for me. Like, as a bass player, like, I can't say anything, but it's just, it's the first thing I notice. It's
Hey,
like,
bands is only as good as their drummer.
It's the truth. It's the truth.
Yeah.
I know.
And
we need to kick him out. I'm telling you. No, I love.
I can't believe he made it through the urine incident.
Oh, that's the thing. Josh took that like a champ. Like he vomited, and it was a
Did
thing.
you practice afterward?
Not
Record.
Only, we practiced drums on Stellar, where we recorded drums on Stellar. So from this day on, you hear those recordings of like Catholic School and 20 on Stellar. That same exact day, that drums on that were recorded by someone who just made their best friend drink their urine.
Wow. That would.
Which makes the EP much more special to me.
Yeah.
But he took like a champ. He kept recording, and he was.
It
like,
really
"That's
is
it."
Josh's fault for not being frightening enough that Austin thought he could get away with that.
And he did get away with it. And it was the second time I had ever met him. So I just stayed terrified of him from then on. Like we went on the road. And I was just like, I was making my own drinks. I wasn't letting him do. I was like super nervous from that. I was so afraid of him from then on. And this is the crazy part. He actually got upset, like kind of a little bit butthurt that I was like, no, dude, I'm not gonna like drink that or whatever. Because he was like, dude, I only did that once. Okay, like it's like I'm not gonna do anything like that again. That was my like top. Okay, man. Like, sorry, I'm the asshole. I'm sorry.
Right, what if the next stage is like roofing you and leaving you naked in a public place?
I know.
Who knows?
He's a maniac. He has a band. He has a new side project right now. We'll have to send you.
that.
Yeah, it's exciting. Great guy. Anyway, so YabYum, saxophone, bass guitar, which is awesome. When's the last time you like played in like a regular band?
I mean, the band I was in where I played bass ended in 2014.
Okay.
Maybe 15.
Which makes sense because that's when you guys started to really pick up heat from what I was saying.
Their lead singer moved to North Carolina. So.
Okay, got it. Never mind.
Yeah, and then I was already sort of playing with JJCMV 2, but that really hasn't ramped up any more or less, I would say. I have been asked to be on more recordings now, so there are more recordings with the saxophone
That's fun.
and stuff, and we play with the trumpet player too, so we're the blowhards, and
Yes.
yeah, it's a fun time when we join them. It's always a blast.
That's fun. Recording is like the best thing. It's the most fun you can ever have without ever committing. Like I've played bass on some of my friends' tracks and stuff before, and it's so much fun to just be like, yeah, this is great. I'm just gonna go in and I'm gonna record and I'm gonna have fun, and then I'm gonna leave, and then that's it. Like I'm not in the band, I'm not doing anything, I'm just playing bass, and then that's it. I don't have to play shows, I don't have to tour. Like it's over with. So it's just so much fun. But as a sax player, I'm sure you're getting tons of like inquiries to do that.
I hope not. I kibosh that so fast. I was like, with what time? Because he does visual art too.
Yeah,
And he's divided.
Yeah.
This is all
And if
true.
I can't read.
Yeah, no, I feel you for sure.
So, but we are trying to,
You're right. I do have to kibosh though.
Yeah.
Offers.
Yeah.
It does happen.
yeah,
yeah.
it happens.
But
You know, I wish.
and YabYum appreciates your commitment to the community.
Yeah, no, you guys are like when we first started, like YabYum was like at that to us that was it. It was YabYum and New Times. Those were the only things that we really were interested in. Like it was Carly and Mark and Mitchell Hillman. Those are the only people that existed to us, and still kind of let's be honest, are still the only three people that truly matter to us, and me in general. And you know, and you guys. The craziest thing is you guys have had Mitchell on before, right? On the live.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
had him and actually Jeff Moses on. Do you
Got
know?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've heard about Jeff Moses. I don't know. I've never met him before though.
yeah, so Jeff Moses and I both had the same mentor as journalism students.
Interesting.
So
But yeah, years of 7,
Years,
8, 9.
very many years
yeah,
apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, got you. Yeah, Mitchell's one of those guys that I need to have on the show. Just let him fucking go. Just
Yeah.
like tell me the craziest shit you've ever seen.
oh, he will tell you crazy shit.
Just
Mitchell
let him
is
go.
an interesting guy. We like him.
Yeah, no, I like him too. He's a crazy man. But yeah, man, like, you guys were a huge deal for us. Still are. I love like it. It's never lost its luster. Like usually when you see how the sausage is made, or you like get to meet the people who are who you've looked up to, whatever. Usually it lessens in its I guess excitement, but it's never been like that. Every time I see tagged by YabYum, I'm like, ooh, what is it?
Hey, we're just getting started too. Quite
Hell yeah! I'm
honestly.
sorry. Oh, I just noticed this. You guys have matching tattoos. What's the
Okay,
tattoo?
so we didn't.
I just now
we
noticed
didn't
that.
mean to get matching tattoos.
Okay.
So back in the early days of us dating, we were both working on YabYum, and it was more of like a blog, a hobby kind of thing. But we were doing an article on the tradition of Friday the 13th tattoos at tattoo parlors.
The flash tattoos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we thought, well, we're going to do this article. Let's go get tattoos. And it just so happens that his father's 68th birthday was on this Friday the 13th.
Nice.
So we all went down we went down with his dad, and we went to get tattoos. And, you have to pick from these, they've only got like 6 sheets
Yeah.
out, and you pick one. And so we were both walking around separately.
Yeah.
And I came back and I was like, I'm going to get this owl. And he's like, I'm getting this owl. And we're both pointing at the same one. And I said, okay, well, we can't get the same tattoo. So what are you going to get now?
Uh-huh.
And he's like, no, I'm getting the owl. And then it was like, we both kind of stuck with it. And
Yeah,
neither
that's
one of
cool.
us wanted to back down.
That's fine.
So we ended up with matching tattoos inadvertently. But it worked out
That's
because
fine.
we're together. And we we got married on the 13th.
Yeah.
So
That's cool. I mean, it's not
it makes
like
it seem like we planned it.
and it's not like it's a portrait of each other's face. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, that's on our ass.
my girlfriend and I have matching tattoos as well, and I think it's one of those things that like it's fine. It's not a big deal. Like it's not.
Yeah,
Plus, mine's on my back, so if anything ever happens,
It was
I'm not
like
gonna fucking
really
see it
early
anyway.
into the relationship.
Oh, I
like
got
6
you.
months in, we just meet,
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we took the plunge early. We moved in together after 3 months, which was like half circumstantial, half like really excited. But it worked out. It's been 3 years, so like that's pretty cool. But fuck, they could have gone so badly. I think about that all the time. Like I'm always like anytime someone's like, "No, I don't know if I should move in with her." I'm always like, "Don't." And like, yeah, but you guys, no. There's no reason that should have worked, but it did.
Sometimes there's some growing pains, but you adapt.
Yeah, definitely. I became a cleaner person. I became a much more responsible person.
Yes.
So, I don't know about
women will do that to men.
Yeah, no, I need that. Like, I'll be the first guy to admit, like, it doesn't feel emasculating to me at all. Like, I need a woman to just, like, smack me in the back of the head and be like, yo, motherfucker, come on, let's get this. We wake up. We need to get this done. I need that, and that's how I am. That's fine with me. It doesn't work. It works, dude.
We're moving generationally.
Yeah.
Yes. You're willing to be hit in the head and say, come on, motherfucker, and the next generation will just do it.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly.
It's okay.
We're making strides. You know?
Strides. It's all directional.
Yeah, it's all about progress. It's all about having fun, relaxing. No problem.
Nobody gets cut with a knife.
No. Yeah, without consent. But yeah, no, I think that it's news to me. I for some reason I always had the idea that you guys started the YabYum together as a unit.
I started it in a why am I back in the desert depression? What is going on around here kind of thing. So I was finishing grad school. I was finishing my thesis for grad school in Arizona, and I went to school in San Francisco. And I kind of had I built the website on my friend's couch watching reality TV because she had the better internet connection.
What are you watching?
Oh God, it was horrifying.
The
I'm
real
not,
world.
Mark and I will watch some TV in the evening, perhaps on occasion. I'm not a prolific TV watcher, and daytime television was entirely new to me.
It was also,
I just was not prepared. It was during the Megan Wants a Millionaire era. Do you know about that?
No.
Oh, it was
I'm not a big TV watcher either. I was just curious.
Yeah, well, like I said, I was sitting on her couch all the time, building page after page after page to put together this thing. And then every month I'd write, a whole bunch of articles and get articles in and put it all together and build it on her couch. And, I didn't have a designer, so it was me doing it, all of it. And, so Megan Wants a Millionaire was a reality TV show about this woman who wanted to marry a millionaire. And it was like a bachelor show. But only millionaires could participate, and they showed her affection by purchasing her items that she wanted.
Oh, my God.
It was like everything that is an anarcho-communist in me screamed in horror, and it was appalling. But then they ended up having to pull the show after a few episodes because one of the guys on the show murdered his girlfriend.
Classic.
Yeah, and so then it was tacky, so you couldn't watch the show anymore.
Yeah, exactly. That's...
So.
See, yeah. You bring up anarcho-communism, which actually, whenever I think anarcho-communism, I legitimately think Phoenix. Like, I'm not kidding. There is like I don't know if they're happening right now as actively, but like Alicia used to be really involved with the anarcho-communism like scene here in like 2013.
See, I was like
15.
99 to 2002.
Yeah, okay. Well, which is way cooler, I'm sure. But like,
is it? No, I don't know.
Yeah, but she always talks about like Pat the Bunny and all these things that was happening and all this kind of shit. And it's I've had no idea. I was listening. I was like hanging out in my bedroom alone, making mixtapes and shit. Like I wasn't doing anything like that. I was not a social person really until the band. The band kind of forced me to be social, and then I found fun in it, and I enjoyed it. But I was not that person before.
Yeah, I'm not a very social creature, but I'm very...
Dude, that's weird to me, because every time I'm around you, it's just like talking and talking and talking and talking.
Right. I've had a lot of therapy.
Which is important. There's nothing wrong with it.
No.
We all should go to therapy.
It was important for me because I have... such a diverse array of interests. Yeah. In order to actively pursue those things, I had to learn to engage socially.
Yeah, for sure.
So, adaptable.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it now. I enjoy, being around people for the most part. I'm not nearly as misanthropic as I was when I was a teenager, but I definitely enjoy it more. I mean, this is what I do now. I just like talk to people and I enjoy it.
I like some people. I mainly only like Mark though.
That's fine.
So.
Yeah. Same here. I like Mark a lot too. Mark's just like one of those dudes who's like, I know it's weird because we're talking about him in front of him, but like he's just immediately likable.
No, he's immediately likable, which is not me. And
that's important.
And so I he's pretty good to have around.
That's awesome. Well, you look for that though. Isn't that what you look for in your significant other?
missing parts of yourself?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's how I am too. Like Alicia's like a cold fucking business. Like she's efficient. She's a machine. And she is. She's like an efficient
They are
machine.
the younger, cuter versions of us.
And I'm like a dreamer who just wants to do everything all the time, and she like helps me get that shit done. It's perfect. It works.
Oh man,
I love you guys.
Yeah.
I called that shit.
Why is that how it was?
No, I said that you guys are the younger, cuter versions of us.
Wait, is that how it was?
That is
with you guys?
exactly how it is. I am a machine.
That's fantastic, though. Look, I see. I want to. You brought up therapy. I really want to go to therapy. Like, I feel like it's important.
Everybody should do therapy.
That's what I'm saying. I really feel it's one of those things where like all of the brilliant minds, or maybe not brilliant minds, but the minds of which I look up to, are always talking about how like important therapy is, and I recognize it makes psychological sense. You want to,
I think one of the biggest impediments to so many Artemis. Oh my God! Can I not say anything? I want you
Artemis
to strike
foul.
that whole sentence from this record, but it's fine. Just leave
No,
it.
let's
It's
do it.
fine.
Yeah,
No,
let's do it.
it's fine. I'm joking.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest impediments to artists is we romanticize depression and the struggle and how difficult it is and how dark we can be and how brooding, and we tend to fixate on those things, and we think it adds to our creative process. But I've seen that go horribly wrong. And I know that you reach a certain point where you're not creating anything.
Yeah.
And so I think artists need to work on getting past the crippling depression and figure out how to create in a space that is not so dark.
I agree.
I'm working on it.
My favorite thing in the world is what I refer to as get better records, which is anytime a band, usually a band who's like has a principal songwriter. That songwriter goes through something in their life that makes them want to get better, and they have an entire like album where they're talking about getting better. And there's so many examples of that, from AJJ's last record to the latest Frank Turner record, and like, there's so many bands that who even say anything to that with their self-titled album. Like I love that. That's my favorite thing in the world, is seeing people get better. And when you say like glamorize, or when you infer, glamorizing mental illness or depression or whatever it is, that is such a... I really feel like that's a bigger problem than people really think that it is. Especially, I hang out on Instagram a lot. And I
hang out on Instagram
a lot.
No, please continue.
I see so much bullshit glamorization of mental illness and depression, and it makes me sick to my stomach, because I've been surrounded by mental illness my entire life. Like that's fuck you, Daisy. That's been an undeniable factor in my life growing up, as I've always been around it. And whenever I see people who are just like, oh, I can't leave the house today, and they like just put on this beautiful filter and they have their face looking all done up, and it makes me angry, because all of these people are taking the legitimacy and the immediacy away from the actual problems and the actual conversation.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
When you do get to that point, though, when you do get to a certain point in depression where you're not leaving the house, there does tend to be some, this desperate outreach, where you
sometimes
need,
absolutely, I agree with you.
And so sometimes putting, especially the way the internet works these days with, kids will just post something up in an attention-seeking way to try and get a show of support that they don't know that they're actually seeking.
I completely agree with you.
And so it's unfortunate, it's embarrassing, but it also kind of, I don't think is always so bad, because if you're in that place and you're feeling totally isolated and you're going to post up online that you're in that place, and then people are going to be like, no, man, be cool.
No, I 100% believe, I 100%
Right.
agree with you. And my On This Day on Facebook is littered with those from like 2009, 2010. It's so much of that. And so I agree with that. And anytime I see messages like that or people like that, I always reach out and I always want to talk to people. And like I've gained friendships that way.
We drop some private messages here and there from YabYum. Like, do you need to come sit on the YabYum couch?
Like, I do think that's important, but there are people who who I know, like, who absolutely will only do those things because it's trendy or because it's that's what and that's what I'm talking. I feel like it's such a cancer on these things that really matter. Because I want to reach out and talk to all these people because I have such a history with it and I enjoy being there for situations like that. That it's exhausting when I have these like very blatantly obvious like cons. You know what I mean?
Mark has a very low tolerance for my depression. He does not appreciate it.
Get up.
Yes, we are going for a walk. Your dog hasn't been walked all day. Look at this face. Let's get out of bed.
Why aren't you standing? I don't understand.
Yeah.
What's happening?
What do I have to do? You want a sandwich? You want to go for a walk? You want to go for a drive? You want to listen to some music? You want me to sit here and talk to you until... Yeah.
Yeah, I can relate to Mark for sure. Like it happens, but like it's one of those things where like I've kind of decided I've understood that no matter what, every single person I've ever taken an interest in, and every single person who's ever influenced me in any way, it has any number of emotional maladies or anything. So I just
we all have a diagnosis these days.
Exactly, and I've just decided like that's fine because I have infinite patience for it. I'm in the car by myself. Someone doesn't go the second the light turns green. I'm angry, but I'm dealing. But whenever I have to deal with somebody. Or not deal with is the wrong term, but whenever I have to help someone or nurture someone through some kind of mental health event, it's like infinite patience. Like this is what I'm doing. I will sit here all day long. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
But you know.
It might be the opposite, but
yeah. So it's like fuck you.
I'm an action item kind of girl. I'm like, identify the problem and then fix the problem.
That's good.
But
people here are important. People like both of you guys are important. You're valued.
We do what we can. No, but I think that is a real problem, especially for young artists, to get anchored in this idea that they're sad and they're always going to be sad. And I think it inhibits creativity. You have to learn to get past that.
I agree.
So
sometimes it's worth digging. Like it's easy, and Josh from Fanapori has said this before. The first album that we ever did, and the first EP, all he's doing to write songs is digging and dwelling as far as he can into his depression and pulling all of it out. That was his process. And this whole new batch of stuff that we've been working on is 180-degree difference. It's stream of consciousness, more fun, more intoxicated by whatever substance he's doing at the time. But still, it's very much like, no, I don't have to go to that dark place. There's so many other things. But breaking through that wall is so hard because you know you can always just dwell and pick up brilliant shit. Like, it's so hard.
Yeah, I felt like I was learning to rewrite when I learned to write without depression, you know.
Damn.
So it's worth it.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. How long have you been doing what you were refer to as writing without depression?
Probably, like 15 years now, where I've been.
Damn.
I mean, that's not to say that we don't deal with the,
of course,
that you don't deal with the ins
15
and outs
years without
and
depression.
No, of course not. Nothing like that. But not where I got over the idea that I had to be in that place to authentically create. Mm-hmm. And then I think when I was like, no, then, you learn to work, it became more methodical after that. The way I produce as a writer now is so much different than then, where before it was whimsy and what mood I'm in. And now it's just you write every day because that's what you do. Yeah. And so I think, moving beyond that space allowed me to approach it from that angle where it's like, no. If you're a writer, you should be writing every single day, every day, right?
That's so okay. Do you have a schedule? Like you have to, because I heard this. I'm sure you guys have already heard this quote, but I want to share it because I just heard it and it's new. It's in front of my head. So that writing is, I don't remember who said it, but writing is like a shop. It's like working a shop. Some days you'll go to work and there's nothing. It's empty. No one comes in, and you're completely destitute the entire day. And you close up shop, and that's the end of it. Some days you go into the shop and you're filled with business. You can't breathe for the amount of business that you're doing. It's a fantastic day, but you have to show up to the shop for either of those things to happen. And I feel like that's really cool. And if I was writing as a career, which I would love to do, but like, is that what? Do you have like a schedule where you show up to the shop every single day at certain times, or
Yeah,
what?
every morning when we get up until we go to bed, we hold a schedule. I mean, we
All day long,
pretty,
living and breathing time.
That's the thing is that we, probably from 8 until 5 or 6 do YabYum. I do YabYum from probably, during the day. But there are other things that we do because we have, we have another media company, and there are things that we work on, and we have a lot of projects and poles in
good.
the pond, as we say.
That's good.
And then, we'll stop and have dinner, and then we both have art we need to work on. So we go
That's
right
so
back
cool.
to it. So a lot of
God,
times
that's the life. For real.
he'll be, I'll be writing upstairs, or he'll be working on art next to me, or he'll be down in the garage building things out of trash. And
Whoa, you can't just throw that
and
away. That's not a throwaway comment. What do you mean building things in the garage? You have a slab city in your garage?
Well, see, I've been into collaging for some time. As Carly alluded to earlier, when she first met me, she's not kidding. I pretty much collaged
like a 2,000 square foot home.
and I mean, just out of all sorts of items and things. But I hadn't yet approached the point of trying to convert that to canvas. It took me a few more years of just sort of, I don't know. I just became kind of bored with the idea of trying to create art with any sort of art supply you can just buy or have. And I was like, what happens if you try to make something beautiful out of something that's been thrown away? I felt that was sort of my ultimate expression, like if I could do that. And so I really sort of fell into that hard, and so I'm working on these very large pieces that take up a lot of space in the garage that have almost wrecked our relationship. And I'm finishing them though, because I do want to get them to the point where they can be hung, and then I will hang them, and I'll be done with that section, and I'll set up the drum kit in the garage and start learning to play drums.
There you go.
So that's what's coming.
Oh my God, that's what's next?
Dude, that's amazing. Now, is this art anywhere where we can find it other than like a link? Like,
I have a few examples on my Instagram.
Okay, cool.
So Mr. Mark Anderson, there's some of that stuff, but I definitely need to put.
I keep telling him to put together a show and
do it.
But
it just takes time. It takes time.
These are large pieces of very
Sure,
small things. But it's funny because once again, when we're dating and all of those things, we'd go out for these walks, and he would randomly stop and pick up something and put it in his pocket. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, this is a really good busted balloon here.
Did you ever like wake up and he's like snipping pieces of your hair off in the middle of the night? Or
we haven't gone that far yet.
No?
Nah.
He's weird. He's not creepy.
Sorry.
And he's like the world's biggest hippie. So
when it comes to art, the two aren't mutually exclusive. Is what I'll say. No, that's so. I think it's really cool and beautiful that you guys managed to be able to be independent yet so symbiotic at the same time. That's really, really cool. I know a lot of relationships. I think probably most relationships like this at times, but it can be kind of draining of each other, or you're compromising each other, or whatever. Especially when one of you is an artist, or you know what I mean.
Yeah, but one of us is only temperamental and is an artist. So
I think it's great that you're both artists who have a good work ethic. That's the thing, man.
Yeah, I just Carly's said this for a while now, but she's truly content and I'm design. Like when she first told me about the website, and actually one of the first things she did was actually I took pictures for YabYum. She took me out, and I saw Treasure Mammal back in 200009.
Damn, they've been around since 2009.
Yeah, and it was just Abe at this place, Chopper
everybody
John's.
was in pajamas.
Yeah, and he's on his knees with his back to the crowd, and I'm like, "What have you taken me to?"
And then they had a dirty puppet show, and he's like, "What do you do for?"
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then right the next day, I think she took me to Whisper Lights at the Lost Leaf, and it was just really. It was
He was sold.
Yeah, it was the side of the music scene I did not know existed. Again, you know, you're just involved with your niche of music, sort of playing with whatever rock bands I was playing. And then there's this whole other side, the weird art. Indie side that really started to get going, you know, a little bit before that, but was really amping up then. And so that's what started it. And then when I actually saw the website and saw that she was using scrolling text and zooming text.
Oh, it was bad.
Oh,
It was
my
awkwardly
God. It was
embarrassing.
so, like,
I was very proud of what I was doing. Thank you.
I sort of stepped in and was like, let's see what we can do here, like, and give this thing a nice sort of look. So 2010, the website sort of changed in its
fantastic.
look, and then we sort of just have done all the, you know, moving to Blogger, then to WordPress, and now to just working with web designers, and
That's
now.
amazing.
You know, getting into the other things we're getting into, like Confessions from the Nocturne Nebula.
Yeah, let's talk about. I didn't know if we were able to talk about that. Or
We
not.
can talk about anything you want to talk about.
Plenty of. Don't say that. I have plenty of questions about this. Where did this come from? This is a fiction podcast, right? That you're talking about. Okay.
So we, we release our radio show as a mixed stream podcast, which is a syndicated. You know, it's not actually a podcast because you can't download it, but we've been releasing those, and then we started working on a project called Band Basics that we thought might be best formulated.
And that's the podcast, right?
As a podcast. And then we had talked about bringing on some other podcasts and spoke to Amy Young and Ashley Naftool, who are local writers. And Ashley last year won Phoenix Magazine's Best Culture and Arts Writer.
And Amy Young writes for
Amy
everything.
writes for everybody.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I've seen the name.
so
around.
they wanted to do a film podcast, so we brought them on, and they do Prize Fighting Kangaroo, and then they host a couple events around town through that. And then, but all of it, we're sort of gearing up to do a science fiction space noir serial.
Hell yeah.
I write a lot of science fiction in my off time. It's my true love.
No, that's amazing.
Mark in science fiction.
That's awesome.
And,
Mark in science fiction. That's your biography right there. That's your autobiography. Mark in science fiction.
Mark in science fiction.
Gotta
I
have to
read
link
I
to
read
it.
a lot of different things, but science fiction does have a
Yeah, that's
special
what I
place
cult
for me.
next.
Yeah.
Science fiction books, and then it's cult. Right? Is that where we're gonna go with this?
With cult.
Never mind. Sorry. I was just thinking. Never mind. Can we continue?
Anyway, so I had sort of been hashing out some stories that take place in this future universe, and I had a really, I had an idea to like bring in this friend of mine who is I think a very talented writer, and have him partner with me on a project to turn the stories into a podcast. And so we came up with an entirely new story based around a central character.
And wasn't that fun writing with someone else?
Oh my God, that's the fucking worst thing ever. I've known this man for so many years. We've been friends forever. I could have stabbed him in the face like 8 times.
Ugh.
But we love each other, and we got through it, and we're proud of the finished product that we have as far as script, and we're really excited to move into production on it.
Good. I'm glad. That's well. Not only are you working with another writer, but you're working with another writer who's trying to help you reformat your own work, right? Is that kind of how it sounds?
Well,
like?
we came up with the story together, and then, it was basically 6 months of weekends of come on over, stay the night on the couch,
Yeah.
and we will write until we fall asleep, and we'll get up and write some more.
That's amazing.
Is it?
Yes. That's amazing.
Let's just
your
say I have
guys'
a
hustle exhausts me listening to it.
I
I'm
have
so
a very
excited.
understanding husband. If I say, hey, my buddy's coming over every weekend forever, and we're going to write something. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go glue some trash in the garage. So
This
And there's
week.
your autobiography.
this week,
Yeah.
he might be recording music in the sound room.
That's amazing.
he's
That's,
a Yeah.
That's so awesome. So you have this is all ready to go. You guys have your first now. Do you have like the entire like season ready to go, or is it just
The whole
like
series,
the first...
the whole first season is ready to go.
That's amazing.
And 6 episodes. Each one's about an hour long.
And they're awesome too. As just a listener, someone who had nothing to do with this, just being able to hear the story as they've been writing it, it is really cool.
You have to like cameo though, right? Like you have to have at least be the guy that goes
I know. At first we were like, well, let's see. We can pull voices together with whomever. But we put out this casting call, and we've got quite a good response.
So our casting call went out on Sunday officially, and by Monday we were entirely booked. So we expanded and had we opened a few extra slots up for folks who wanted to still audition. But the good thing is that we're planning on this. We're planning on this being an ongoing thing. So as soon as we get this into production, we're going to start writing season 2, and
until it's optioned as an Amazon Prime show.
and we're going to start writing season 2, and the plan is to recast each year and tell somebody else's story within this universe. So it would be a different cast.
That's so cool. See, I've never listened to any of those to any like the fiction podcasts before. Obviously I know Night Vale because that's like the big one,
Sure.
right? I've never listened to it. I've known people who are into it. I'm like really really happy with my just with my my Rogan and my Smodcast and all the I'm fine with all my funny goofy like talking shit for 3-hour podcasts. But I it's only natural, right, that it goes there because podcasting is such a force right now, and it's such an almost media change, like away from terrestrial like this and into radio and away from radio into internet. It totally makes sense that it would go there too, and there's radio plays. Why not podcasts? Like it totally makes sense.
And we're trying to style it after like an old time radio drama.
That's so cool.
But something space age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, give me like 2 or 3 recommendations for phenomenal sci-fi books. I've got to be honest. I'm a huge horror nut. Like the horror is my I know I've got the posters everywhere. Like horror is really my true love.
Scary movies scare me.
Okay, so even novels, I can talk horror novels all day. Sci-fi, I've read Ender's Game and like maybe a couple other, but like I'm really not like I don't know my sci-fi that well.
Ender's Game is great. Dune's my favorite.
Dune. I see. Okay, I've read the first core. I've read enough Doom. Okay, I've read enough Dune.
You haven't read enough Dune if you haven't read all of Dune.
No.
Okay.
I've read enough Dune to pretend that I've read the whole book.
Okay.
Like I can like have a conversation with someone like, yeah, Dune's awesome, and be able to the House of Treaties and all these things. But like I haven't fucking read the whole thing.
There's a really great author who it's so funny. I'm not a jealous person. I don't get really like upset. I really revel in other people's happiness and
that's so
celebrate. Yeah, sure. And celebrate other people's joy. Sometimes I fucking hate writers when they just write something so good and then I get so upset that I didn't write it. Mm-hmm. And this guy wrote this book called The Water Knife, and the only thing there's another science fiction writer named John Scalzi I like a lot, and he said the only thing you can like about this guy is that you can't pronounce his name. And it's the only thing he has going for him as a writer that the writer community will support him for, is because he's so good and he's so sharp. But The Water Knife, which is set in Phoenix.
Ooh.
And he is not from Phoenix, but he did a really good job of nailing it.
That's awesome.
But it's like set in the future of Phoenix.
That's cool. I'll check
it
that.
out.
I'll have to check that out.
Definitely. Ursula K. Le Guin.
Oh my God, I can't believe she's gone from the world. And
who is this person?
Ursula K. Le Guin wrote Lathe of Heaven.
Left Hand of God.
Left Hand of God. Lathe of Heaven is one of my favorite books.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, she's amazing.
No, so what is this about then?
The Lathe of Heaven is kind of it's gonna change your idea of a constructivist universe. I don't know how else to say it.
I mean, what else do you need to say? That's it. That's the subtitle on the cover of the book. Right. That sounds awesome.
I have constructivist leanings, so I really.
Oh, but what about Douglas Adams?
Oh, Douglas Adams.
Okay, yeah, I've read that. Okay, yeah, I know. I've read the first one.
Okay, so Hitchhikers.
Yes,
Hitchhikers. Mark just read Dirk Gently's series, which
I've
read part of, and he's making me finish it because you got to do that.
See, I like, as you were saying, I like books that make you think differently about books, I guess.
Right.
Like every once in a while you'll read a book. My shining example of this, being a horror nerd, is House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danilevsky.
Which we just gave to our sound editor. Our
you
audio.
read it?
No, but we got it for our audio engineer because scary books scare me.
It's not that scary.
Is it?
It's just really, really unsettling.
Oh, it's just really, really, yeah. So
There's no. It's not like scary. It's like psychologically. It's a psychological complete cluster. It just like changes the way you think about thoughts, and it just kind of ruins your brain.
Well, maybe I'll borrow it back from him. But
It's an investment.
we gave it
but
to our
pays off.
chief audio engineer for Christmas this
Okay,
year, or
got it.
for Hanukkah, whichever you want to. We have a Hanukkah bush, and we celebrate all things.
I have 2 copies. I love that book. But here's the thing about Mark Z. Danilevsky. That book, brilliant. It's his first thing he ever wrote. Came out in 1999. Absolutely brilliant. It like blew up all over Reddit, and it was like this really big thing. Everything else he's ever written is like, but like that one is so good.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that the other ones are meh because that one is so good. They're just not nearly that great.
Right.
Like he spent it. Like, that's the thing, man. First records. There's a lot of bands who their first record is like lightning in a bottle, and then everything after that is just like this is all right, I guess, but like you know what I mean. Not even in comparison, just in general. It happens.
Brian Evanson. Have you ever read him?
Mm-mm.
He writes. I'm trying to think about scary books that I've read. He actually was the creative writing head at Brown, and he wrote some pretty good books that kind of creep me out.
Yeah.
And what was the other? Blake Crouch. Blake Crouch wrote a couple of good books that were pretty creepy.
Yeah, it's I like the like my number one Google search has to be most disturbing novels. Like I just I like stuff that just makes me like really cringe. Like because the thing is with horror, and I'm sure it's like this with sci-fi or any kind of anything that you're passionate about, is you always want to go deeper, and you always want to. It's almost like a continual addiction, and horror is like that too, because horror relies very much on sensation, and eventually that sensation goes dead if you don't continue to give into it. And it's like that in life with all kinds of things, whether it's drugs or sex or whatever. You always just go deeper and deeper in. And the thing is, no pun intended. And the thing with horror is like, okay, well that like these like jump scares and like cutaway like blood splatters don't do it for me anymore. Like I want to see more viscera. I want to get farther into it.
Oh God.
And with horror, like. The thing is, like, I have to find the most possibly awful thing that I can possibly read. And, like, with movies like that, too. But, like, you know, some stuff still works. Schindler's List still totally ruins my night. Like, but, like, in, like, the most, in the most artistic way possible.
Okay.
But that's the thing. Like, I don't know about, like, sci-fi or anything in that same way, but like you always want to go farther and you always want to see more. So I like Stephen King is kind of a comfort blanket for me because he's who I got into all that stuff with in like 5th grade.
Mm-hmm.
But like that's just like popcorn to me now. I'm just so much further into like what's been banned in Europe. Like what kind of crazy shit can I read? But I noticed plenty of banned books in your collection though when I was over there. I know. I mean, obviously we mentioned Henry Miller earlier. He's been banned everywhere.
Right. Yeah, I'm a big fan of. I'm very much opposed to censorship in all its forms.
Oh yeah,
So
for sure.
we try and keep a handful of illicit novels around at all times.
That's all illicit novels.
I don't know.
Some Marquis de Sade.
Well, you know, we're also we're writing this pulp. You know,
Yeah,
there's a pulp element to the science fiction podcast we're doing. So I was reading a lot of Lawrence Block during this process. It gets a little racy there with the Lawrence Block, but
yeah, he does. For sure.
I and that was actually the book that I gave to. I give a lot of books.
Yeah.
So my writing partner Dale, I gave him a collection of Lawrence Block novels while we were getting started.
That's awesome. That's
sort
fantastic.
of help inspire the tone.
I was like, I mean, I'm almost 100% positive you were the same way for sure. I was very angsty as a teenager, and I'm
angsty now.
Yeah, exactly.
I never grew out of it.
So I always wanted to like find the most offensive thing that I could read that would bother everybody else. While like, so like I would walk around with like Marquis de Sade books, or I would find like which are completely unreadable, or like the craziest thing that I could find, or invite everybody over to my house to watch Cannibal Holocaust, or like whatever I could possibly do to make everybody feel uneasy. And yeah, Lauren's blog is definitely great. For some reason, he reminded me of doing that. I don't know if he's necessarily like as deep into like the crazy shit. But.
I think like especially the way they packaged his novels, you know, during the 60s and 70s, like when you get to his older novels and they're packaged where it's still kind of pulp, but it looks a little classy because it's earlier. But when you get to like the 60s and 70s, they look like even this book that I just read one of his novels like a week ago, and you know, it's all like this virgin is trapped in a pleasure palace in the east and he must rescue her, and the whole book is written like a spy novel.
Yeah,
and
well,
then
that's why they use the word
to
palace instead of dungeon.
And then you get to the very end of it, and then it gets
hey,
it gets a little salty.
Ooh, oh.
But for the most part, you're reading like a a devil may care character.
Yeah,
you know,
that's great.
It's really compelling. The writing style.
I like when I'm reading a book where and this does happen in movies too, but I feel like it happens more often in books where I hate a character so much that I sweat. Like there's been times where I'm literally like, it ruins my day.
So I have a real problem with the suspension of disbelief, which is probably why I don't like horror films.
Okay,
it's because
probably, yeah.
I really get invested in what's happening. So certain things we
Good
can't
for you
watch.
for being intelligent.
We can't. We have not watched Breaking Bad
Oh, Breaking Bad's great.
because I am wringing my hands and sitting at the edge of the couch and yelling at the TV, "You are making the wrong decisions." And
you
Mark's
can never
like,
watch
"We
Shameless,
can't,
for sure."
we can't watch this because you're getting very upset." And I was getting really upset. Like, I don't mean to be such a staunch moralist, but I am, and I just keep getting the wrong choice. So
Yeah, no, it's crazy. I don't watch a whole lot of TV. I'm very much a movie guy. But like my favorite TV show right now is Shameless, which is literally nothing but 8 seasons of people making the absolute wrong decisions in every possible way. So I can't imagine you being red in the face.
No,
like,
I
every
think
moment.
my head hurts just thinking about it.
Yeah. So we'll move on from there.
Right.
There is something that I definitely wanted to ask you guys before we get to the end, which is I want to know what bands do you kind of have your eye on for 2018? Like 2018, we're at the new year. We're at the precipice of something new. Like, tell me, who do you got on your mind? I know you're gonna, obviously
We should
it's
have
hard to
prepared
list.
for this.
I know, I'm sorry. You're gonna forget people, and that's okay. It happens.
Well, I don't know. So there's an artist at LA that's coming out with a new album that I was introduced to last year, and named Lauren with Roared. Did I get that out right? I'm having trouble enunciating.
That's fine.
She's putting out an album in a couple of months, and I'm really excited about that. As far as local albums, I know Fairy Bones has a new album coming out.
Or 0% Fun.
Extra Crispy's about to drop their
Crispy.
second
That song
album.
is so fucking good.
Yeah.
Like, where's the motherfucker one? Like, dude, they're so good.
That is a live experience that
I haven't seen them
should
live
have.
yet. I haven't seen them live.
This Saturday, I think it's this at the house show. I was thinking about
We
going.
got to go to show flyers. We got to do show flyers
I know.
tonight. So I have a thing against house shows because we're secretly older than everybody thinks. It's just house shows. We're not allowed to choose them as show picks because of liability issues. But
Really? Interesting. I didn't know that.
if a 15-year-old kid's going to go to a show that we recommend, get drunk, and end up in a trash can, we don't want his parents to sue us.
Really? They can sue you for that?
It's just one of those things. So we don't choose house shows because they're not permitted. They don't have
Yeah.
permits.
Huh,
We don't know what the
interesting.
drinking and drug situation is going to be.
Crazy.
We make no judgments on that front.
I've seen some fucked up shit at house
But like
shows.
we get a lot of young readers. We get a lot of high
Yeah.
school kids too who read
Yeah.
us, and we don't want to be like,
That makes sense.
hey, go to this house show, don't get raped.
I've seen some shit. I'm sure
See
Mark's
what
seen
you're
more than
saying
me.
right now. Look at what you're saying.
I know. No, you are 100% right.
And if I was 15 years, I know what shows I went to when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you have the one friend who can drive
Mm-hmm.
and that sort of thing, I would use everything in my disposal to convince my mother that this was a safe place to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need a publication telling you about house shows.
So,
you
no-
don't, especially not in 2018.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that we put them on our show flyers page, so you can go to, like, upcoming shows and see what's going on. And sometimes we'll call out, like, hey, there's a really great house show happening this weekend you should check out. But as far as, like, show picks, they have to be
That makes sense.
a
Okay.
licensed venue.
Fair enough.
So, yeah. And then I kind of feel weird at house shows. We will go to them. We have gone to them.
Dude, our house shows, our first ever show was a house show. We hung the mics from the ceiling fan because there was no mic stand.
Right.
And like I've seen like there's a picture somewhere on the internet of Josh being so crossfaded that he, while playing his guitar, slammed into a wall on accident. Like he fell into a wall. And it's the best story ever because he's playing guitar and he's singing. And then he has like an out-of-body experience, and he thinks that he's just listening. And I remember because I saw it happen while we were playing. So here's what I saw. What I saw is him singing and playing, and then he steps away from the mic, and then he goes back into it. And I was just like, whatever. I wasn't paying attention, or I wasn't really thinking about it. And then later on, he tells me, he's like, yeah, I just thought I was like listening to this really good band, and I just like stopped singing. I was like, oh shit, I have to sing. And that's what you get at house. I've seen like, dude, there's definitely been times where we've played at house shows where it's like, I'm gonna sit outside until we play, and then I'm gonna sit outside again, because like whatever you guys got going, it's always the kitchen. Whatever you guys got going in the kitchen, I'm not about it.
Yeah, I've been to more. I'm sure we've both been to an uncounted number of house shows in our life.
Yeah,
We've
sure.
seen
Oh yeah.
so many shows.
It's crazy stuff. So anyway, 2018.
So yeah, I'm really excited for the new Fairy Bones. I'm really excited, and I did have a sneak peek of that. So
Nice.
I'm
That
not-
new single is great.
Yeah, I think they've really they're meshing their sound, and
They're coming on here. They're
Ooh.
soon. I have they'll be on.
they're
here.
sassy. I like them.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah,
They're great.
I just got into this band Wyabiotsa Collective.
I don't know what.
From where?
They're from Bosnia,
Okay.
and
How awesome would it be if I knew who they were?
yeah, oh yeah, right. They represent the Balkans though, like the whole Balkan area. They kind of like have members that join them from all sorts of different countries actually.
Okay.
And so they just put out their 8th album in November, but just got into them like last year, and they're really impressing themselves on me.
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
It's really cool. There's so many good bands here, but since we've expanded, we've been introduced to a lot of bands in other areas. I know that today,
Yeah.
I heard a really great band that's made up of undergraduates from Yale, and
Yeah, just how many international things that have
we
hit
get a lot
us.
of
Yeah.
band. For some reason, we get a lot of readers from Australia.
I was about to say Australia, because it's kind of like
They get a lot of rock
Yeah.
and roll there.
yeah,
and
Australia's got a
so-
great thing going on.
It's like I can't even
So that
exactly.
band Georgia June I like a lot
Oh
from
yeah,
there.
All these bands that we covered this past year with singles, I think many of them are due to have albums out. A lot of those kids from England that you covered too. A lot of
all the sad bastard music from England.
yeah.
I'm a partial.
So that band Shame just put out a new album. I haven't heard it yet, but they're like, I need a better Brit rock experience. Like there's not a whole. I gotta be honest. Like there's not a whole lot of music that comes out of England that I immediately get into, and I don't know why that is. I think
I don't know why that is.
I like the thing is like there's a
Have you
apologies.
heard of the Beatles?
Yeah, okay, obviously, but like apologies I have none is great, and there's definitely like bands that have come out of England that I like, but for some reason I like make it through half the album and then I move on, and maybe it just so happens every single band that I've heard from there I'm just not super into. Like I'm not a big Arctic Monkeys fan, and I'm not a big like I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
It's my problem. I need to get over it.
Oasis.
Yeah, I actually don't like Oasis at all. I have strong opinions on Oasis.
Yeah, and then
I like Muse. Muse is for few.
There you go.
Cool.
There you
Yeah,
go.
They're good.
Belle and Sebastian's one of my favorite bands ever. So
Oh gosh, so you know what though, and I don't know why I even brought this up because I had this exact same conversation with Alicia, and we started going through British bands, and I was like, oh no, I actually like a lot more than I thought. Madness is one of my favorite bands.
Oh, there
ever.
you
and
go.
the
For some
Fall,
reason.
Marky Smith just died, and I love the Fall.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't know who that is.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that when we get off the
Okay,
air. That's
sorry.
an
Because
important one.
everyone is affected by it, and I for some reason don't know. Oh, The Damned! I fucking love The Damned.
Oh, yeah.
love The Damned.
Yeah, I saw The Damned. I think.
You saw The Damned?
Remember when?
Was he wearing gloves? Was Dave Vaney wearing gloves?
It's all an unfortunate blur and punky.
That's good. That means you had fun.
I guess. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love The Damned so much.
Yeah.
I love it's because Alkaline Trio. I think it's like my favorite. Like anytime someone asks my favorite band, I always just say Alkaline Trio, and they're one of those bands like The Damned is their it's Matt Skiba's life. So I was like, oh, who's this band, The Damned? Like many years ago, and now they're just like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever heard. Like especially when they got goth. Like their punk years are good, But like that whole like phantasmagoria like goth era is so good. All the saxophone and shit, it gets real weird and eerie, and like I want to listen to it in a castle. Yeah. That's what I like, man.
Yeah, I would say that's one of the problems with dealing with the growth of YabYum is that we spend so much time listening to music that comes into us that we don't have as much time to discover music organically.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we're trying, we have to be very conscious of so that we don't become sort of institutionalized in our own understanding and sort of self-referential all the time. So
that makes sense.
We do try to listen to new things, but so much of it is the music that comes in that,
It's cool, though. You always have, like, I need something new to listen to. Open up the archives of all the stuff that you guys have coming into. Do you ever get do you get physical like mail? Like people send you like CDs?
Yeah.
Like a PO box or something like that set up?
We do have a PO box.
That's awesome.
PO box and an office.
That's
and the whole
amazing.
thing. And so some people will send us physical albums, and we got a rock biography recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened with that?
Just like a random.
I'm covering it. It just got busy.
Oh, okay.
Hey, fuck God, Mark.
Yeah,
you got a rock biography. Like someone just like sent you like Bob Dylan Chronicles 1 or
it
something
was
like that.
Patty Schmiel from
Hole.
Oh.
Hit So Hard, the drummer.
Got it.
Yeah, and it's actually really good.
Really? I mean, it sounds like it'd be a good story.
Yeah, she was so much in the 90s grunge scene in Seattle, and she's worked with a lot of bands since then, and you want to talk about an artist who decides to crash out hard. She goes hard.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm sure. Anyone in that band.
Yeah, and so it's a long road back from being in Hole and then like living under a bridge and then like coming back to yourself. So.
Damn, do you have stock in this book or?
No, I'm just saying. I might have just like plugged it on the radio and skipped the whole article.
I'm totally kidding. I say that because I want to read that now so bad, badly. And I like do not give the first shit about Hole, but I totally want to read that book.
No, I don't really want to say that on here, but I really was not super interested in reading it when it came in. But then I was reading it, and I was like, this is actually really great.
That's fine to say. I feel like that's even more meaningful when you don't have a vested interest in something,
right?
And someone sends you something or someone introduces you to something, and suddenly you get really into it. Like I feel like that's even more meaningful when it turns you around.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I was like 14 when Kurt Cobain died, and I took it very personally. And so, Courtney Love was always like that horrible wife of his. So,
no, for sure.
No offense, Courtney, but
nah.
at that time especially, so I was not huge into Hole. I mean, we all knew the album.
I mean, all their best songs were written by Kurt Cobain anyway. But like, but yeah, I mean that's the thing is like they were cool. I guess they had like that one cool chainsaw music video. But like where she's like, didn't she have like a chainsaw in a grocery store or some crazy shit? I don't know. She's I don't know. So is there any like so Fairy Bones, absolutely. I'm also really really excited for the new Fairy Bones album, and I'm a convert on Fairy Bones. like I like their 2 new singles much more than anything I'd heard before.
I think that's kind of we like Fairy Bones. We like Fairy Bones since they started. But I definitely feel they've come leaps and bounds from that first, from Dramabot days to where they are now, which is really exciting because the new album is just so good.
To play a show with them in a 200 square foot cement block in Tucson. And they were super cool. They were really really professional. We were brand new at the time. We were super new, and we were playing out there with Desert Beats and Fairy Bones, and maybe like one other band, and they destroyed. They were so good in that tiny little echoey room. Which now thinking back, it's like the fuck were you guys playing that show for? Because even then, I feel like they were too popular to play that tiny little cement dungeon. But
No Volcano.
No Volcano.
We're big No Volcano fans.
Okay.
They have a good sound.
And they have a new album coming out in
the
April.
Locals?
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen them. I don't know these guys.
They've worked with Serene Dominic on Onus Records.
Okay.
And put out some music there, but
and
Jim Andreas is a really great songwriter,
And that Breakup Society album should come out this year.
Oh, yes. The much anticipated Breakup Society album. As soon as the artwork is done.
That's right. Oh, man.
I don't know. See, I don't know Breakup Society either.
So that's Ed Maisley who.
Oh, okay. I know that guy.
Yeah,
I know that name. anyway.
Everybody should in this town.
Yeah.
I know the name,
So-
of course. I've seen he's written many a article. That's very good.
Mhm. He's a wonderful music writer and a wonderful musician. So that should be coming out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Ooh, maybe we'll get an album by Las Choyas Peligrosas.
oh my gosh, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
That's all. So okay, well, hold on. So first of all, I have to mention because it just now caught my attention. The Leonardo DiCapricorn button that you have on is hilarious, and Snow and Chorus is fantastic too. I'm hoping that we might get it because that's where he's. That's
If
where
they
he
come,
is now.
I would love
They're
anything Damon does. I know. I heard that, but anything Damon writes, I love.
So the Alex LeBlanc, who is the guitarist and other vocalist in Snow and Chorus, was my high school best friend.
Oh,
And Snow and Chorus and Phantom Party started within 2 months of each other. And we for whatever reason we
both
never
great bands.
we both thank you but like, for whatever reason we never played shows together, but it was kind of this fun thing of like Alex and I hadn't talked since high school, but in high school we were best friends, and it was just kind of this cool thing of like watching each other's bands grow together literally started in the exact same time. And they're infinitely better than us. They're so good. Snow and Chorus is so good, and Damon's so great, and the whole band is fantastic.
It's got that lyrical turn of phrase that just so good.
Yeah, they're so great. And with a name like Leonardo DiCapricorn, I need a name like that. I need I need like a portmanteau name. I was thinking Urethra Franklin, but I don't know if that's good.
I thought puns were on their way out. I thought we were moving past the pun phase.
Yeah, maybe. Well, not when Urethra Franklin comes to town.
Right, that's true.
So anyway,
I did get the the dollar bill Murrays today.
Did you?
I did. I hope I accepted them too because I'm talking about them on the air.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, hopefully they're good. Yeah, maybe they are. Maybe they're not. Anyway, so on pun, we'll end the show. Thank you guys so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so exciting when you guys said yes, whichever one of you it was that was answering the emails.
One of us.
I was so excited to put that on my calendar. Like, yeah. So yeah, thank you guys so much for being here. Obviously, anytime you guys want to come back, hopefully next time you'll be here. We'll have the video set up, and hopefully that'll make no one uncomfortable, and all kinds of other things going on. But seriously, you guys are like the greatest team that we have like here in Phoenix right now. It's so happy to have you here and to have built any kind of connection with you over these years, and it's so meaningful. Like, you guys do amazing work. Thank you for being such a staple in the scene.
Thanks so much. We're glad we like your band. Otherwise, this would be really awkward right now. It would be unfortunate. We'd have to back out of the room. But,
no, it's cool.
But thank you so much for having us.
Of course.
Yeah, and thanks, Matt, and thanks for doing this podcast too. I mean, yeah, you go through your archives and you see a bunch of great bands that you've had on here, and I can only assume that guests that you're going to have on soon will be just as good. A lot of bands that we haven't covered or anything too. So
we'll have to talk about it. I got some. There are some guests that I want to talk to you about after the show that I have on that I'm not going to mention yet. But for real though, it's funny, but you guys definitely are one of the people who made me like there. In order to put something in motion, you need to be able to understand or know that it in some way, shape, or form can be done. And there are versions of it that are successful, that exist, so that you know that you have some kind of springboard to go off of, or you know that it's possible. And YabYum definitely was that for me. It was definitely this thing where it's like, look, these guys do it in a different way than how I'm going to be doing it, but that's exactly it's perfect. They're doing it, and they're also wonderful people. So thank you guys for existing and doing what you do and working your asses off for everything that you do.
Well, thank you again.
You're welcome. That's the appreciation station.
I laugh awkwardly when I'm nervous.
Yeah, you're cool. So anyway, thank you guys so much. Thank you everybody for listening. As always, we'll have more up for you next week.